let's take a look at this. Tell me.
Your hair.
My hair. That was like right when COVID hit.
Yeah, it was a team meeting that we could
Yeah.
have. We had to do outside because you couldn't meet indoors with more than like 5 people or something like that.
Mhm.
But we could do an outdoor meeting.
But I think there was like distance between, like we had
Yes.
done a ton of Zoom meetings,
so many Zooms.
and then we were finally able to meet, but it was outside.
Yeah.
So we gathered everyone. There's probably like 30, 40 people there.
And
So
there-
this was one of our launch team members' backyards.
yeah, and it was like just early days. Basically, you just kind of explaining culture,
Mm-hmm.
talking about what our hopes are for the church. So looking back on that, you're like, oh no,
That's crazy.
we know nothing.
Just scrambling, but so much excitement,
Yeah.
so much adrenaline, so much faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like, God, you're in this with us, and
Totally.
we're gonna build it and reach people. And it was a cool season.
Yeah,
it was fun.
fun.
Now when we cast vision, it's like we've seen God do so much, because you get comfortable in the vision once it becomes reality.
Yeah.
And what was once vision is now your reality, and you have to have a new vision. Like God's calling you
old
to the
wineskin.
next. It's an old
Yeah.
wineskin. So it's like everyone's like, man, we worked so hard to get here. We love it here. We love it like this. And it's like, no, God has more. So it's like we're living in the vision, but God has a new vision. And so that's what we do every single year now. And I think that's much harder.
Yeah, I would agree. This was one of our first big campaigns. I think we kind of saw it as, billboard campaigns were seen very like old fashioned, like you go, everything is online now, don't do like this stuff. But we kind of wanted to, for 2 reasons. We wanted to get the message out that we're a church for Winnipeg, for all of Winnipeg. And 2, we also wanted our launch team to have something to hold on to and to show people, because there was nothing we could show. There was no service we had. There was nothing we could really show other than like nothing. I think what's interesting is looking even at that billboard, and it's like, for God so loved Winnipeg. It's like our heart has always been just for the city, where I don't like, that's just something we feel very passionate about. And so even just like we're going for the city, like this is a kingdom city, and just proclaiming that, I feel like it's always really been something God has given us. I don't know how much has changed of like,
You know what has changed? Like the attack against stopping this message from getting out.
right.
Like the spiritual resistance we feel trying to, go against strongholds, just like break the yoke of bondage that exists in this city. Like as we declare this over and over and over, we are like waging war against hell, and every time we show up, the enemy wants to let us know that he's here as well. And so I think that has become different, but we're stronger as well.
Right.
And so now we could put up way more of these billboards and communicate the message in different ways, and influence has grown, and there's more people to help. And so as like we're storming the gates,
Yeah.
and the more resistance there is to that, the more people we have to combat that. My vision is that at the end of the day, like, you might not like our church, you might not attend our church, but at some point in time, I want it to be impossible for people who live in Winnipeg to not know that we're here,
And to not know that we've helped them.
that we're available to help. For every location we have, and right now it's in Transcona, but I want Rose Church to be the first number that someone dials when they're in trouble and they need help. Like, I don't know what to do. Well, I'm sure someone at Rose Church will help me, and that'll be my first call. And so I want to see that scale and expand over time as God makes a way and opens doors. That's the heart. That's the goal.
Do you see Rome peeping out? Her little head, like she's being held.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right there. I think we were just kind of in awe of like, this is how our church is starting.
This is our church. That was first.
We're doing an
service.
online
Launch Sunday.
service. And because I had to also pass Rome to you, so there was like a whole Rome needs to be studied.
Yeah.
She needs to be happy and fed. She was only 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I don't even know.
If I remember correctly, this was the result of a first Heart for the House offering.
Yeah. At the time, I think it was our 3rd month, but our first month, like, income was like $7,000.
Yeah, we almost like weren't able to pay.
Next month was like $8,000. I mean, the church was so small, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was our monthly income.
We were just praying.
And then we did Heart for the House, and it was online. And our church showed up.
Yeah. Do you remember what the number was?
$17,000.
Which was huge, yeah. And so at the
which
time,
was like $1 million. It felt like I'm not even kidding. It felt like $1 million.
Could have run around the street 3 times.
It was crazy. And then that place to rent cost like
Was it $2,000 a month or something?
$2,400.
The crazy thing is,
I was so nervous because our monthly income was $7,000 or $8,000.
well, no, do you remember you called probably 10 pastors? Should we do this?
I was like, guys,
Should
the
we
rent
do
is
this?
so high.
Oh,
The
it's
rent
so
is so high.
We can't do it. I don't know.
They're like, how much is the rent? $2,400. And they would almost like fight back laughter. Like they're like, I know that's big for you,
It'll be okay though.
but it's not actually big. And like, God is so much bigger than $2,400. But it was so scary.
it felt
Signing that
dangerous.
lease, taking that on, going through all the permitting process, and it really was the first, exposure to all of the behind the scenes building stuff. But man, that was scary. But what a blessing. Great things happened in there.
I was gonna say, yeah. I look at that building. I think about just all the beautiful moments we've had with like people and meetings and moments and all of that, and just like worship.
The Holy
team would meet
Spirit,
there.
the Holy Spirit showed up in that building
Lots of
on
times.
multiple occasions.
Yeah. So it's cool. Oh.
This is a practice service.
Okay, I kind of remember these. Yes. And then
It's
some
exciting.
theaters were closed because of COVID. Like things were also just very different still.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were. I feel like that was exciting. That kind of felt like finally getting to a place.
Yeah.
Like you kind of feel like God in your life will test you, and it's like a test. Do you pass the test to get to the next level? And that kind of felt like we were very faithful in the season of like what we had, and then we were coming to the next in that.
I remember realizing in this season how hard the last season truly was. Like preaching to a camera in my home office or my dining room. And like, I remember one time, like the living room window was wide open and like somebody was going for a walk and they like looked in and it distracted me and I had to start my whole sermon over. So I ran up and closed the curtains and just started over, and it was just like, man, it was so hard to preach to a camera.
Yeah.
But like what got us through is like, who's on the other side of that camera? We didn't even know who our church was at that time. But throughout that year, every single week, there was someone in growth track on Zoom. And then all of a sudden this happens and it's like people show up and it's like, I saw you on Zoom. I saw you on Zoom. I saw you on Zoom. Good to finally meet you.
Yeah.
Like it's just wild. What a bizarre season.
What's so crazy, and I kind of like look back and laugh now, is I just remember saying to Mark, if we could just get 100 people in the room, it would just feel so good. And it would be so nice, and it would feel like we've got some like, momentum, not just to like, oh, we have 100 people, but to actually have like 100 people with you and growing and all of this stuff. And so it's just like looking back even at that, being like, oh my gosh, like God was so faithful to now look where we are, even just compared to this season. So it's crazy. I love
our
this
first serve
city.
day.
Serve day.
Serve day. Yeah.
Like what people don't realize is this is what's happening on Sunday mornings here during a service. It just looks different. This is what happens when we sow into a strategic partner. It just looks different. This is what happens when we throw up a billboard. It just looks different. It's all part of the heart, and the heart is God's people. Like we love God so much, out of the overflow of our heart for him, as we encounter his presence, we fall in love with what he loves, and he loves his people.
This is that first Vision Sunday where I felt it was a definite push.
I didn't say what we were raising money for. Church gave $70-something thousand. Next week I said, y'all gave $70-something thousand. We're going to try to get into a permanent space. And obviously the hand of God was on it, because the church rallied and gave $250,000 in 3 weeks. The biggest gift was only $23,000. That was the biggest gift. So there wasn't like a $50,000 or a $75,000 or $100,000 plus another $25,000.
Everyone literally was
the
giving
biggest
what
gift.
they could.
Everyone gave what
People
they
were
could.
selling cars. Like there were some people selling stuff to like get it.
Yep.
So it felt very like, as pastors.
I remember that. Someone's
hey.
like, I got to sell this car so I can give to Heart for the House so we can get into this building. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So people gave what they could. But that's the thing. If everyone gives what God asks, the church could do phenomenal things.
Yeah.
It's like when we all carry the same weight and responsibility and give according to what God has asked us to give, the church can do amazing things.
Talking about that,
Oh.
crazy.
I think this just like picture makes me think of like what it's all about is like families and just like
Like,
this
at
was
the
in
end-
child dedication.
Yeah.
But it's like it's all about just like seeing families thrive. And all like both Janelle and Kurt serve and their daughter thrives in our kids ministry, and it's just like that's what it's all about, like seeing Stevie thrive more than anything. It's like seeing the kids and the next generation, and just seeing families.
And this is the grand vision in a person.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, we want to see strong families, like people who are big on the inside, people who really love Jesus, who are being discipled, who are walking through a process. And like our job as a church is to help people be stronger, the more that they're with us, fall more in love with Jesus, the more that they're with us. And that's why I push so hard. It's like
You push hard. No one would ever accuse you of
we go
being,
for
like,
it because
so,
like
that.
as human beings we always will find ourselves going with the current.
What are
and
you
in
pushing?
order-
What are you pushing hard for in this next season for our church?
I want everyone in our church in this next season to be able to like confidently say, I know Jesus more at the end of this year than I did at the beginning. I love Jesus more than I did at the end of this year than I did at the beginning. Going after God isn't like finding him in a destination. It's recognizing that he stands at the door and knocks, and he wants access to every area of our lives. He wants to be at the center, like the picture it paints in Revelation is Jesus at the center and everyone around him worshiping him and adoring him and praising him. And it's like, what does it look like to put Jesus at the center of every single area of our lives? And that's a hard thing to do, but so if we stay on the gas and we continue to challenge people and push people, I believe that like over time that starts to happen. But it's like, you do not become a anointed, faith-filled, obedient follower of Jesus accidentally.
And so that's why you push.
And that's why.
But sometimes I think it's like you gotta, like people want to hear your heart behind the like, guys, serve, give, tithe. It's not
show up.
You're not saying it
sometimes
because you just want to say it.
No, it's like I want to see people, and ultimately it's about the promise of God on their life. Like, what does God have for you? And I just know from my own life, like the promises of God don't come easy.
No,
they just do not. Like, just because God promises it doesn't mean it all of a sudden falls in your lap. It's like God calls you to like the promised land, and then all of a sudden there's 31 kings in your way that you gotta, defeat, Joshua. It's like, there's the promised land, is right over there, and then 31 kings get in his way, and he has to fight each of them. And I just worry and I stress, and because that first battle comes and people jump ship. Oh, I guess God never called me to the promised land because this king's in my way, this battle is in my way. And it's like, no, my job as your pastor is to prepare you for all 31, and so it's like, coach has to push you. Coach has to train you, because the game is way harder than the training. And that's my heart. And I just think all of hell wants every single person in this church to live a mediocre, boring, quiet, insignificant life. And it's like the heart of God is the opposite of that. That we would be bold with our faith, that we would take ground, that we would be successful, that we would be generous. And it's like you start trying to reach out to accept and receive the promises of God, and it's like the devil starts trying to smack your hand away.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, don't let him.
Right.
Don't let him.
Right.
But you got to be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about how important moments like this are with our kids?
What I'm doing right there is I'm pointing her to Jesus. I'm saying he's the answer. Like he's got you. And I feel like whether it's a public moment like this or a private moment or me just rallying our church around, culture, we got to be a church that looks like this to reach people that look like this. And look at that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I just think we never want their hunger for God to outpace ours. It's like we always want, like Mark and I want to be so hungry for God, and we're able to lead the people and lead the next generation.
And so what do we do with this? Because I see a lot of, even in our city, and I'm not throwing shade, I see a lot of spaces for worship. And there is a hunger and a desperation
Yeah.
for God. I want his presence. And that's the starting point. And that is that's everything. His presence, I want him, I want him, I want him. But then giving people the tools to actually pursue him and walk with him when this ends. Like when the service is over, when Kingdom Come is done, when Fire Nights are over, when, service is dismissed. How can you keep walking with Jesus? Because there's a part of God that you get corporately,
Yeah.
and there's a part of God that you get privately. And so if we only ever go to worship night, or we only ever go to, worship nights or services or whatever, it's like we're missing out on this part of God. And that's where it's like discipleship,
Yeah.
even membership, like these processes that we're going to put in place to actually walk people along. We need to give you the tools. We need to talk about things that other people are talking about, and it's like we can't hit everything on Sunday,
No.
but we should as a church find different avenues. We got to hit on what people are talking about. Like there's just no reason for other people to have conversations that we are not having.
We say it all the time, but there really is no junior Holy Spirit, and kids can receive the gifts that the Spirit promises. And so I think to pray for, praying for Grace here, it's like we're believing that God has put gifts in her, and they don't have to wait until she's a certain age to show them. And our heart is like, that's why, some of even what we want to do this next year is so much to do with
The next
generation, is because it's like this church is for them.
Well, that's where campus ministry comes in.
Yes.
It's like that's statistically where so many, I think it's 64% of kids that graduate, like that attend church and graduate, go on to university, or even not even university, just graduate. 64% of them leave the church. Now, there are new statistics of so many of those kids coming back, because we really are in this quiet revival season, but it's like we got to meet people where they're at. And so if they're on campus, we got to go on campus, and we got to reach people. And I think, man, our campuses are broken. Like universities are broken. Post-secondary education is broken. The workplace is broken. But people go there to find identity and meaning and significance. And I just think, I know, they're done. And so we got to show up and be like, but there is an alternative.
But can you talk about like what your desire for like something like membership would be? Because people hear that and they're kind of like,
Yeah.
that sounds old. Or that sounds
It is
like
old school.
a
It is
cult.
old school.
a
Like
place I feel people's minds go, older cults. So maybe you could.
one of my favorite people, Pastor Russell Johnson, says a lot of people are like, out with the old, in with the new. And he's like, no, it's out with the old, in with the ancient.
Right.
And so it's like a lot of these practices that people stopped doing, we're now realizing are actually really beneficial and helpful.
That's why history is important.
To identify the core of the church is really important, because a lot of people might be visiting, a lot of people might be exploring, a lot of people might be seeking, searching, whatever, but like, who is the core of the church? When there's like some type of topic that needs to be discussed, and you can't discuss it on Sunday because you've got all these guests that are there and they don't care about the church behind the scenes functioning. They just need the gospel. And all we want to do is give them the gospel. Like, I don't want to have a family meeting on a Sunday morning with
Right.
people who aren't yet a part of the family. They're like, I'm here because a friend brought me. And that friend too is like, I brought my friend and you just talked about, finances. Or I brought my friend and you just talked about a new policy you're enacting in our board. It's like, but those things are important for people to know. Really, membership could be swapped out with covenant community. So I don't just attend this church. I'm making covenant to be in deep, rich community. And what I've learned over the last 5 years is a lot of people don't know what church is. And they think it's songs and sermons. And a lot of people don't know what it means to be pastored.
Right.
They think it's a guy who preaches or a girl who preaches
Amen.
and counsels me when I have a problem.
Right.
And it's like, it is those things. It is all of those things, but it's so much more. And so what membership is going to allow us to do is teach out what is the biblical definition and all of these dynamics around covenant community, and call people and invite people into that type of depth of relationship with each other and with God. I think it'll be really powerful. I'm excited. It is old-fashioned, but I think these old-fashioned things are making a comeback for a reason, and they're going to be impactful. I think membership will be one of the very best decisions we've ever made as a church.
So let's talk a little bit about these photos and talk about the the back half of the greatest commandment.
Mm-hmm.
I think what was really cool about this is that we have such a heart for those special moments like a Christmas to not be this stressful thing for families. And especially Mark just had a huge heart for it because he grew up not always having gifts at Christmas and all of that. But I think what was cool is that we got to invite people into our home, into our church, whatever you want to use, like into our living room, to say like, hey, we want you to have a moment with God. We want you to be cared for. And so what people would do is they would come to the building. They would get to do a little shopping. They'd have a personal shopper help them. Their presents would be wrapped while their kids were being taken care of at Rose Kids. And then their kids
They
get
could
to
receive prayer.
They could receive prayer if they wanted, which
Counsel.
most people actually did say yes to prayer, which was really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually had people who went to the Christmas for All come to church.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had people even at we had a Canada Day outreach, and those people have started like came to kids camp and now come to church. Like we've had like some of those connections continue.
Yeah.
I think it was just a way for like not to just throw money at someone else, but like to actually invite people in and to do it in our own house. Because even we had a pastor friend who was here and he was like, man, we just give money to an organization. This is way better. Because then they actually get to know us as people in our church. It's not just like we're on the list of donations,
It's seed sown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just a few weeks ago, we baptized a girl, and in that post service, her mom comes up and came to see her baptism.
She came up to me and she said, I recognize your husband. I was like, oh, have you watched us online before? No, I actually one day was walking in a Walmart parking lot and he gave me a gift card and he said it was part of their church's.
It was inside the Walmart.
It was inside the Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay. At the Walmart, it was one of our outreaches for
It was a part of Serve Day.
Serve Day. And she's like, I don't know if he remembers this. And she just started tearing up. She's like, I needed that money so bad. You have no idea. And I had no idea that he was the one that my daughter was attending the church of the man who gave me that. And she happened to be one of them. She comes to this church, sees Mark, and she's
But
like,
it's
wait
a
a minute.
seed sown 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
5 years ago.
And
Literally.
her daughter got baptized. Her first Sunday makes a decision for Jesus. Second Sunday gets baptized. But a seed sown 5 years
For
ago.
it just shows like God's heart on their family. And
Yeah.
it said like God sees your family. And you could tell she was just so emotionally taken back of like, and I think that's like what those moments
Goodness
are for.
of
It's
God,
like
yeah.
just like a seed sown and like maybe we get to see it, maybe we get to water it. But to have that moment with her and to see her daughter get baptized.
And I think that's the thing is like, I'm not interested in putting socks on people's feet and watching them walk to hell. It's like I want to put socks on people's feet and, Christmas presents and backpacks and all of these things. But it's like all of those things are an overflow out of the gospel, but they cannot substitute the gospel. And so we're going to meet physical needs. And we're going to believe God to ultimately meet the greatest need, which is our spiritual need, this in our soul, that reconciliation with Jesus. And so it's like everything we do, and this is like where we're like in this next season, we want to continue to do outreach, but we want to be so intentional with the evangelism piece of it. Because it's like, hey, we're going to bless you and meet your need and come alongside your family. But I actually think the most important thing we do at these events is pray for people.
Yeah.
And let them know if you ever need anything, we're here for you and we got you. And we establish relationship and you know where to find us. We're here.
Well, there were people who were making connections from here to the backpack drive, the back to school drive we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when we did the back to school drive. And that boy, his mom they're Ukrainian refugees actually. And so it's like a really beautiful story of them coming here.
And they come on Sundays.
And I think like that moment, and even we were telling people at the backpack drive, hey, they asked if we're doing Christmas for All again. So it's like we're already getting
There's a
that reputation, which we are.
Mm-hmm.
Correct, yes. I don't want to say we're
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
I was like,
100%.
I'm 99% sure we are, but just in case. But just to like have those connections as a church of like, you got a backpack, you got to come here for Christmas. I don't care if I have to do that for you for 20 years and then you finally receive Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like we have those moments with people and we plant those seeds.
We've always had a heart that we don't have to do everything.
Because there are organizations who are obviously
They're better equipped for it. They're established. They've got
that's
years,
all they're
they've got
doing.
staff.
Like, they're focused on a special area.
And so for us to be like, hey, we have a heart for, you know, people without homes or they're in a tough situation, you know, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to partner with the people who are directly, you know, meeting that need and doing it really, really well. And I think so when there's the right organization that is, you know, intent on building the kingdom and reaching people, and there's like these alignment of values, like, yeah, we're stewards. Like, so at a base level, we're stewards of our resources. Whenever God blesses us with, we're just stewards. It's not mine. Yeah, we tithe and we give offerings, but that doesn't mean everything left is mine. I'm still a steward of it, and I still am called to maximize that resource. But even the church, like as a church, we're just stewards of this, you know, this mutual fund that is meant to, you know, benefit the kingdom and advance the kingdom. And so by choosing strategic partners, we get to really see a multiplication as we deploy resources. And I think it's so important. And I even just got a text, you know, from the guy who is up in Flin Flon, and he's like, hey, could we connect? And he's starting Revival North, and, you know, we're going to sow a seed into them, and just believe that, you know, through their ministry, they take ground and lives are changed. And like, I can't get to Flin Flon, you know, consistently, but there's people there that can. I can't get to, you know, all these different places, but there are people already there, and they're willing. They just need resource. And so our church is so generous when we have the resource. Yeah, we're going to sow it into you and believe that you're going to have a massive impact. And it really just multiplies our reach and expands our reach.
Well, even like one of my favorite ones that we partner with and we want to continue to partner with is Ally Global, which helps women and children out of sex trafficking. So that's like what has been a really cool organization. And they've even worked with Canadian women, Canadian children, but specifically Indigenous women who are being sex trafficked, and they're working with them. And so I think those are just like really cool things that, yeah, we as a church don't have the resources, time, or people, but we can empower other people to do it. Church statistics and people will say we're actually at the most difficult season as a church because we'll have the demand.
Category is 300 to 500.
So yeah.
But we're at the small end of the medium-sized church. But everyone has the demands and the expectations that we would be on the large side of the medium-sized church. And so it's a really interesting thing that we're wrestling
through. We don't have the resources of the 500 demand of it.
Exactly. And so here's what I think the ultimate need of our churches is a refreshed commitment, a reestablished commitment to the vision of the house, not the layout of the furniture.
Wow, that's good.
That's the biggest need right now, is like that every single person in our church would be like, oh yes, look at how God's moving. And we do not look like how we did when we started. Yeah. And in 5 years, we will not look like we did today. And if we get so caught up with how we look now, and I like how we look now, we'll never get to where God wants us to ultimately be. And so it's like, I'm in this, and I'm going to go hard, and I'm not slowing down. I'm going to serve, I'm going to give, I'm going to pour out, I'm going to believe, I'm going to pray, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be a part of this thing. I think those are the biggest needs. And then obviously, you know, we got building development that we need to happen. Like, we need to refresh our kids' spaces because, like you said, 30%, that's a massive.
Kids are not easy on those toys.
No. So we need to make, you know, as we go to 2 services, that puts an increased pressure on our infrastructure for services, you know, production and worship, and just like everything requires more. All of a sudden, serving free coffee becomes more expensive because we've got more people, and even just like little things. Shout out hospitality. Shout out ushers who replenish our Connect cards and giving envelope. Like all those little things, you know. And so, there's a ton of like need for just increased demand on the output of our church. But I think if the heart of our people is like, I'm still willing to die for this thing. Yeah. I've counted the cost. It's still yes. And I don't care what it looks like. As long as people are getting baptized, as long as people are throwing their hand up to receive Jesus, as long as we're giving people who weren't previously Christians Bibles, you know, then I'm in this thing, and I'm going to go hard. I feel like what's happening to me right now in my leadership is God is really shifting me from the grind of the day-to-day, week-to-week, and maybe thinking a year ahead to really beginning to think 10, 15, 20, 25 years ahead. Like, like, when I retire,
Mhm.
what will the church be and look like? But I need to start building that today.
Mhm.
And so this whole idea of establishing a war chest, which it is a war chest. It is to go, to war with the enemy and storm the gates of hell. That's what every building is. Every church building is like a reminder to the devil of, like,
Where does
you
war chest
failed and
originate?
you lost ground. It was a savings account that, governments and kingdoms would have in case they needed to go to war. It's pre-planning. And so we're in this place for another 8 years. So we're not in a rush. But 8 years is gonna, like, go by like that. All of a sudden it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, we're in the 2030s? Like, oh my gosh, there's a year left on our lease. And so what that means is, if we want to be in that building at the end of our lease, then we can extend it, but I don't want to extend it. I want to own property for the glory of God. And again, imagine a place, like, I had this image in my head of what it could be, what it needs to be in order to serve this city and serve the people who call Rose Church home. In order to serve them well, it's got to be this certain thing. It's got to be state of the art. It's got to be well thought out. It's got to be effective. It's got to make sense in all these different ways. And it's like, we got to start planning that now, because we probably need to break ground in 5 years, and it's not going to be $250,000. It's going to be a lot of money. And I think if we just put a little away, get really wise in our regular stewarding of the tithes that come in on a regular basis, that all of a sudden, it's going to compound, it's going to grow, it's going to multiply. And eventually, when the opportunity comes, when we need to go to war, the chest is full. And we're ready to go. We can buy the land, we can build the building, and who knows what that'll look like.
Right.
But I know it's God's heart for our church, that he wants to bless us in that way, because he wants us to be a blessing.
Yeah.
And you know what that building is going to say? Exactly what that billboard said.